Hey everyone, I'm Angela from Grab Bags Travel, and welcome to the very first episode of the Wake Report, your weekly cruise news briefing that will be covering all the development, changes, and conversations happening across the cruise world. This isn't your typical cruise news recap. We are here every week to break down the stories that actually affects cruisers, talk about what matters and what doesn't matter, bring you some interviews and insider perspectives, and of course have some fun along the way. So if you only cruise once a year or practically live on board, welcome aboard. Leading off this week, Royal Caribbean may be shifting gears with its beach club plans in Mexico. Now, if you've been following cruise news lately, you already know that there's been a growing conversation surrounding Royal Caribbean's Perfect Day Mexico project and local concerns surrounding tourism and environmental development in the region. But now there are reports and discussions suggesting Royal Caribbean could potentially move forward with the beach club concept in a different area instead. And honestly, this story matters because beach clubs and private destinations are becoming a massive part of the cruise industry's future. Cruise lines aren't just selling ships anymore. They are selling their private destinations that they control. Now this week I spoke with a representative from Royal Caribbean about the company's growing focus on destination experience. So the one in Costa Maya has been in the news. Perfect Day in Mexico has been in the news past couple of weeks because of the issues with the government not wanting you guys to develop there. Do you think Royal will be just nixing that totally, or do you think we're still like in negotiation stage and may see something in the future?
No, I'm sure that you'll see something in the future. There's always, when we built the Royal Beach Club in Bahamas, anytime that any foreign government is getting involved, there's always going to be other things that they want, discussed. But we're building a water plant there and all kinds of amenities that would be really beneficial to those who live there. Mm-hmm. So I would say just stay tuned for further information.
We'll actually have that full interview for you coming soon because there was a lot of interesting details we couldn't fit in this segment. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it. Now here are a few other cruise headlines making waves this week. Princess Cruises is now requiring all passengers sailing round trip from San Juan, Puerto Rico to carry a valid passport, even round trip cruises that would normally allow U.S. citizens to have the option to travel with a birth certificate and government-issued ID. According to Princess, the change is tied to the option to embark or disembark in Barbados, along with it being a port stop for some. This option no longer makes it a closed-loop cruise, so a valid passport must be present on board. This policy currently only affects Caribbean itineraries sailing from Puerto Rico aboard the Crown Princess and the Emerald Princess. So if you booked on a San Juan cruise with Princess, be sure to double check your documents before you get to the port. Now, as an advisor, I always recommend you carry and bring a passport regardless of the closed loop, open loop rules for U.S. citizens. Heaven forbid there's an emergency or an injury that occurs while you're in the foreign destination, or you may miss the ship. You don't want to be in that predicament without a passport. You won't be able to fly home. In the long run, having a passport is such a small investment to take. Now, over in Greece, Santorini is making major changes to how cruisers reach the island. Santorini has approved a new rule requiring up to 70% of passengers from each cruise ship to disembark at Fira Bay, with no more than 30% allowed to arrive through Athenos port. The shift is significant because many cruisers visitors have used Athenos to avoid Santorini's famously crowded cable car system. So expect longer waits at the top for those heading into Fira this summer. Local officials say the move is designed to improve safety, reduce congestion, and better distribute passenger and vehicle traffic between the island's ports. It's the latest in a series of crowd control measures on the island, which welcomes more than 1.2 million cruise passengers each year and has already implemented an 8,000 passenger daily cap. So if Santorini is on your upcoming itinerary, it's definitely worth paying attention to excursion instructions and arrival details, because the experience getting onto the island could look very different depending on your ship and sailing date. And it's been a rough stretch lately for a few cruise ships who have been experiencing propulsion-related issues, including 2 ships operating Alaska itineraries this summer, Holland America and Norwegian Bliss. Now, thankfully, most of these situations are not safety emergencies, but propulsion problems can still mean itinerary changes, missed ports, reduced speeds, and a lot of frustrated passengers. And honestly, I think Alaska is one of the worst places for itinerary changes, because so much of the value is tied to scenic viewing, land excursions, and glacier viewing. Now, of course, the contracts of the cruise lines state that they have the right to change or alter the itinerary at any time. But how do you react when issues like this affect your sailing? Let me know in the comments. Now, one of the wildest cruise stories that happened this week was near Cuba, where the largest earthquake to hit that region in more than 100 years was reportedly felt on board multiple cruise ships. The 6.8 magnitude earthquake struck off the southeastern coast of Cuba, and passengers on board ships, including Margaritaville at Sea Islander and Norwegian Escape, felt the sudden shaking and vibrations at sea. Some guests said it felt like the ship had hit something underwater, while others reported furniture rattling and noticeable movement throughout the vessel. At the time, some of the ships were sailing surprisingly close to the epicenter, within just a few dozen miles. Thankfully, there were no reports of injuries or damage to the cruise ships, and there was no tsunami warnings issued for the region. But it definitely is one of those rare reminders that even out of the open ocean, nature can still deliver a pretty shocking moment. Now, before we go, I'll do a segment called Photo of the Week. And the first one we're going to actually do from my photo that I was taking on this beautiful sunset somewhere in the Gulf of America on board Radiance of the Sea. And if you'd like to share your cruise photos featured on a future episode, please tag us on Instagram and Facebook with Grab Your Bags Travel, or send me your photo at info@grabyobagstravel.com. Well, that's going to do it for the very first episode of the Wake Report. If you enjoyed this format, make sure you subscribe and don't miss out on the next installment. And since it is the first episode, I want to hear from you. What kind of things would you like to see in the next episode? Do you like the cruise news? Are you interested in more interviews? How about ship reviews? I'd love to hear from you, and just drop them in the comments so I can read them all. Thank you so much for watching. Happy cruising!